Tottenham 2, Manchester City 1. Timo Werner, he put one away, Luke. He put one away.
No one was more surprised about that than me. 5 minutes in.
I know.
Just settling down, putting the slippers on, finishing off the last remnants of my dinner. Right, let's get stuck. Fucking hell, Timo Werner scored. He didn't p-roller it back to the keeper. He didn't blaze it miles over the bar. No. He actually struck it really nicely with his right foot, struck through the ball, and it was in the back of the net before the goalkeeper could do anything about it.
Richarlison did that at the end. He p-rolled it right at the very end when he could have had one.
Someone's always going to do it.
Someone's always going to do it. For Spurs.
But Spurs were good for the first half an hour, decent. They hassled and they harried and they pressed high and they looked like they really wanted it. And it put me in mind of what Marcus was saying on the show, on Wednesday's show, where he said, the players are still playing for Big Ange. You can talk about them being shonky from set pieces and kind of a little bit flimsy, and the crowd maybe turning a bit too early and all the rest of it. But actually, the players are still playing for him. And I know it was a bit of a scratch City side. I know that Man City treat the Carabao not quite with disdain, but a rung on the ladder probably below disdain, which would be what, Peter? Indifference?
Indifference. Like looking the other way, as they're saying.
Yeah, but Spurs have still got to get out there and do it. And we did say on the show on Wednesday that it's an opportunity for them if they can get amongst it early and get past Man City, take advantage of the fact that they'll play a slightly weakened side, and they've got a real chance, and they were able to do that. And I was also super impressed that they were. I mean, there was a 10-minute spell towards the end of the first half where they looked ragged, and obviously they could see that goal just before half time. But up until that point, they dealt with the loss of Van der Ven, who went off with a hamstring. High impact, pacey player, that can happen. But that could have shaken their confidence. But they stuck at it. They obviously added the second goal, and the reaction of what we've seen tonight should really please Spurs fans, given that they were tepid and really disappointing against Crystal Palace. And obviously in recent weeks they've set fire to a 2-0 lead against Brighton and lost the game. Beating Man City in any circumstances, in my view, is really a showpiece win. It's a hallmark result. So it was great news for them. And I felt like, aside from a period here or there, they actually looked pretty comfortable. There was a stat doing the rounds after about half an hour where I think Man City had 67% of possession and not a single shot, and Spurs were far more effective with far less of the ball, which is a great sign. So it was good for them. It was a great result.
I think it was 3 kind of shots on target inside the box, I think, compared to Man City's 0 at one point. I mean, people will point to this as being, Spurs, it's a bit of a cup final for them. They're trying to play themselves back into a bit of form. And Manchester City have fielded a weakened side. A weakened side that still had like Gundogan, Stones, Foden, Savinho, Diaz as well. They had decent players in there.
They're a good team, though, aren't they?
They are a good team. But, I mean, any team will find themselves in a little bit of trouble against such a quick side if they are going to insist on playing such a high line. It was a high line that they continued to play against Spurs, and if they continue to play that in the league, which I don't think they can do, they're going to be in a bit of trouble. But it seemed baffling that Pep seemed to sort of keep on at that, really, and didn't bring his side a little bit closer to the goal, because they were getting beaten for pace and beaten for just people making mistakes left, right and centre, it seemed.
That was clearly Spurs' game plan, wasn't it, to kind of soak it up and then hit them hard. I mean, they had a lot of joy on the break, Spurs. You're right to say that. I mean, they broke free on a number of occasions, and if they were a more ruthless side, or maybe in slightly better form themselves, they may have taken the game out of sight. I suppose on that basis, they made a little bit of hard work of it, maybe, given that they couldn't, they're only ever really a goal ahead for the majority of the game. But yeah, I mean, they seemed, for the most part, I thought, fairly comfortable. Now, of course, City did turn the screw a bit towards the end of the game, and there were some chances that you thought if Haaland, he was looking on from the bench and wasn't used, he was available to Guardiola, but Guardiola didn't want to use him for whatever reason. There were some chances.
Give me Jarmai Simpson-Pussy, please.
Yeah, I've never heard of him. I've never heard of him before.
Apparently he's doing great things in the youth side, but he's throwing him in at centre back at that point in the match. You need a Haaland. You don't need a JSP, so to speak. But I mean,
JSP.
For Spurs, this is a cup final, but this is my creche, and I will administer it as I see fit.
It's not a cup final for Spurs. That's disrespectful.
They would play. There was a chance at 60 minutes where the ball was about to go out for a throw-in, and I can't remember who did it, but he legged it over to the sideline to get it before it went out. They were going rock and roll, hardcore football, 24/7 in this match. On our Haaland, though, obviously he did stay on the bench, and he did give a glance sconce at Pep Guardiola after him travelling up to Malmo to watch his. He was part of a rap group, wasn't he, when he was young, old Haaland? And
was he really?
He visited his friend. I can't remember the name of them, but it was atrocious spelling. However, it was sort of listed.
That's your main beef with it, is it?
It's atrocious.
Who among us hasn't been in ill-advised musical groups as a young man?
It was like they were called the Rhyme Guys or something. I can't remember, but he was in a group with the other Rhyme Guy, and he was playing for Malmo in the week, and Haaland popped up to go and see him, and just say hello. But Pep has to manage his minutes. He grafted at the weekend against a relatively strangely resolute Southampton. They only managed to score one goal, and Haaland did it quite early on. They can't fall down into the trap that they did last season.
But he didn't play any football this summer, did he?
3 or 4 matches.
I'd have him every game.
He looked a bit tired at the end of that.
I'll tell you something now. I know that City have won all these trophies, and the League Cup isn't going to be a priority for them. I suppose on one level you're right to say, you're using the word saying it's a cup final for Spurs, because I suppose from their side, if they can get past Man City, they think, well, we've got a chance of winning this, and it's important that we get something at some point. And Ange just said what he said about winning trophies in his second season. I get all that, but so from Guardiola's point of view, I can kind of understand it. But Haaland hasn't played any football in the summer, and he's 24 years old. He doesn't really get through a massive amount of work generally anyway. It's not really his game. I understand that he kind of leaves the line, he toils, and the Premier League is very physical. I'm not taking anything away from his contribution the same way that some other pundits would do. But put it this way, though, the point I'm trying to make is Spurs are under pressure. They come off the back of some difficult results. The manager's a bit under pressure. You heard that just before half time. When City scored just before half time, young Archie Gray gets sucked in at the far post. Nunes takes advantage of the overload, and they score, and it completely changes the fabric of the game going into half time. And what happens at half time? Some sections of the Spurs fans start booing, even though they're 2-1 up against Man City at home, because they're ready to go. These Spurs fans, they don't know what they want. They don't like being told what they are. And they're ready to go with Ange Postecoglou, I think, here and there. I think there's an opportunity that they won't pass up an opportunity to be critical of the manager at this point, right? So they're under pressure anyway, and we've seen that going into the game. How delighted are you if you're a Spurs player, the Spurs manager, or a Spurs fan, if you see that Haaland isn't playing? You're absolutely delighted. So his impact, even if you just give him half, I don't buy for 1 second, given his age, the profile of player he is, given the amount of time of summer he's had off, I don't buy for 1 second that you don't play him for at least half an hour. Just give him half an hour.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He's got 21 goals for club and country going back to the start of the summer. He's a ridiculous player. He's a phenomenon. To me, it's a huge miss.
The same players on the Spurs side of things probably quite pleased with Manuel Akanji getting injured in the warm-up. That was unhelpful. I don't care what level you're playing at. It just seems like that's quite a difficult one to stomach so early on in the match before it's even bloody started.
Could you see yourself getting? I could see you getting injured in the warm-up on Sundays.
Yeah, just getting my foot in a mole hole. Crying out loud.
What? It's a 4G pitch, Pete.
It's a 4G. How's this mole got up here?
I'll be honest with you. The main reason I wanted to see Haaland is because I wanted to see an undercut duel of the ages between him and Dragusin.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Proper undercut wars. Street Fighter 2 Turbo matchup.
Neither of them particularly well administered or delivered, one would suggest. You're watching a clip from the Football Ramble podcast. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss an upload. A single upload. Don't miss out on the uploads. The uploads are important.